In the proud spirit of America and in the proud spirit of our great country,
I just got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
Sean, we got a lot to talk about today.
Yes, we do. It's been a while since you've been back in the studios.
It's good to be here. We had a good workout this morning.
I know, I missed you. How was your vacation?
Pretty good, but I was still tracking the news. The world is so insane. The Iran situation, the Russia situation. Russia's getting ready to start hitting NATO targets if NATO doesn't stop supplying weapons to Ukraine. It's crazy. But a couple days ago, you said, come over, do a podcast, whatever the hot topics are.
Yeah.
So we're working out at like 6:30 this morning, and we literally are simpatico. You say, well, what do you think we should cover? And I said, I think we should cover the fact that they've now finally set the Candace Owens debate for this Friday. Patrick McDavid's going to host it.
Big one.
The other big debate around it is, has this become, or is this a Charlie Kirk murder, assassination, conspiracy industry by everybody? And it just is this continual giant topic that gets bigger and bigger. And I like what Michael Knowles said about it, so we can get to that clip while he refused to be the moderator. But I'm not saying Patrick McDavid's bad for having the debate or moderating. And I think it's so big, there's such a loss of trust in the system. This is just the way it is. And you go, that's exactly what I want to cover. And you held up your phone. That's what you wanted to cover. And then you said, but here's my topic. And it's, what if society totally collapses, like a lot of these government studies and things say there's a possibility it could. And I went, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I just put out a basic dramatization of this potential nightmare future yesterday. And so we're like, boom, simpatico. So that's the two big topics, is the Charlie Kirk debate, assassination, conspiracy industry, which you can't deny it is, but you can't blame people for that fact, though I try not to make it my main beat. You can't ignore it because it just gets bigger and bigger, and it's emblematic of the loss of trust in the system. And the elements that feed into the Great Reset, where the globalists are trying to collapse society by design, but in a controlled collapse. And Elon Musk has explained to them that's not going to work. We need to try to stabilize civilization, even if you're a depopulationist globalist. So those are the two big topics. And then, of course, we've got this little 2.5 minute piece, kind of near future dystopia, that one of my editors, Darren McBreen, took from a rant I did Monday and spit this out in just like 24 hours. This came out a few days ago. And I think this illustrates the type of future we're potentially dealing with, where when society collapses, it immediately coalesces back into warlords.
After you put out that rant, I was like, holy shit, man. Like, one of the things I'm most curious about is what Alex Jones would do in an end of the world scenario. So I want to get to that. I want to get to what you would put, what would be in your prep bag. So
well, let's be clear. You're the Navy SEAL that spent a couple of years in Afghanistan that is a warlord failed state.
Sure.
Other than Somalia, probably the worst in the world. So let's be honest here. I'm not an expert on what to do when this goes down. I know what governments, institutions do. I do understand the pieces that are pushing us towards that.
Right.
And so in this piece, I didn't even tell my crew to do this. I just did a rant as an example of, I would be a warlord in a system like this, or I'd try to be, because not that I want to be a warlord. When anarchy comes in, warlords always rise as the first level of society and civilization. So I'm not even saying I'm some expert that would be a warlord. No. I'm just saying, think about this future type world. It would be more like former military people and stuff, with engineers, scientists, and people that could bring civilization back.
Yeah, well, the truth is like, when shit hits the fan, you're either going to be being told what to do, or you're going to be telling people what to do. And the last thing you want is to be under a leadership that's fucking retarded. Let's be honest. You're going to die. You're not going to make it through this.
Yeah, all these people that don't know how to tie their shoelaces and are on EBT cards, they're dead.
Yeah, what I've noticed from the military, like military leadership, it's a mixed bag. You get all sorts of different type of leadership, and it's a constant turnover. It's a revolving door of new leadership, and you find out very quickly that there's a lot of incapable leaders out there. There's some very good ones, and if you're lucky, you get tasked to that group. But if you're not lucky, you get tasked to some fucking bonehead who acts like a tough guy, and he's making all the right, he's doing all the right things, but he's making all the wrong decisions. And so in an end of the world scenario, you need to be with somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing, not just acts like it. We're going to revisit this in the second half of the show, but first let's play this trailer that you made.
When the hydrogen bombs are detonating and you're sitting in your house or office and all of a sudden the windows all blow out and then 10 seconds later, you see a flash of red coming at you. That's the firewall. And just remember, oh, Alex Jones was right. And that's if you're, on the edge of the blast. You won't feel anything if you're actually in the epicenter of it. And of course, maybe you're out in the middle of Montana or Wyoming. Well, you'll get the nuclear winter and the fallout, and then a few weeks after the nuclear war, here comes the warlords coming to loot your house and rape your wife and kids. And people got their teeth falling out from radiation poisoning, and all these crazy guys stumble out of their vehicles, and it'll be doctors and medics and engineers, and they'll all been gone totally crazy. And you have a bunch of 140 IQ psychos that are literally going across the land like army ants, devouring everything in their way. And all the low IQ people will just be dead in a ditch. And then the veneer of civilization goes bye-bye, and all of a sudden there's all these monsters, all these 140, 150, 160 IQ monsters. The guy that used to manage the golf course, your surgeon, your neighbor who's the army vet. And now all of a sudden, they're hauling you up by a chain to butcher your ass and eat you. And if I wanted to get outside the blast zone, I could go get ready and I could be the leader. I could be a new warlord. I could organize the engineers and scientists and warriors and have a battle plan how we were going to take the resources we needed, get to a redoubt, fortify it with weapons, because there's going to be other warlords coming soon we're going to have to contend with as we rebuild civilization. And it's not that I want to be a warlord, but that's what we're going back to. Are you ready to be a warlord? Are you ready for me to be humongous? Just give us the gas. We spare your lives. I know how much pain you feel, but wait. Now is not the time. You will be given your vengeance.
The info war is not
All right,
done.
so that's a little promo to you. But
that's a great video, by the way.
And I didn't even tell my crew to do that. They just saw me do a rant of that. And I'm not saying I'm a warlord. It's even about me. My point is the veneer of civilization. You know the saying: hard times make strong men make good times, good men make weak times, weak men make bad times. The cycle that going into this globalist system and this design collapse already happening in the third world is going to accelerate things into this whole situation. And a lot of the blue cities are these crime-ridden filth pits by design, with the Soros DAs and judges letting the criminals out to artificially create this climate and collapse people's confidence. So we can revisit that towards the end. I'm glad you raised that topic, because I was literally going to recommend that as one of the topics.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm looking forward to getting into this, but let's shift back to the topic at hand. We're going to get into Candace Owens and the Andrew Wilson debate that's allegedly going to happen. So it started off, she posted something like she was going to do it on, or she asked Joe Rogan to moderate the debate, and that didn't seem to manifest for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know how he was supposed to do it when he's going to be at the UFC this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. She said he was going to do it Friday, but he travels for the UFC on Friday. He does the weigh-ins, and then the fights are on Saturday, so that doesn't make sense. So then it was Michael Knowles, is that her second moderator that she approached, and then he turned it down. And then after that, it was Patrick Bet-David who's going to moderate this.
Yeah, and I love Patrick, and I'm glad they're doing the debate. I'm not judging people for doing the debate, but I think Michael Knowles in this short video really sums up how I feel about the whole thing. I'm not judging TPUSA. I'm not judging her. We have a lot of questions. We know Cash Patel ordered to cover up a foreign involvement. I even interviewed Joe Kent over the weekend confirming more information, the former head of Counterterrorism Center. So it's reasonable to question this, but the entire play-by-play and the sagas and the soap operas and all the subgroups and the fighting with each other and just it going on and on and on. It's one of the biggest political issues in the country. Not inflation, not the Strait of Hormuz, not the wars, not deportations, not the midterms, but it's because emblematically people don't trust the system anymore, and this has become the new JFK assassination on steroids. So if you have that clip, I think Michael Knowles sums it up, but I'm not saying he's wrong to not take the debate. I get his perspective, but at the same time, I'm not part of this industry. I probably talk about it maybe once a week, but my listeners do want to get updates on it. But because it does suck out all the oxygen out of the room, and because you can't figure out really what did happen, it's like the ultimate whodunit. It overall has become a distraction. Not saying it shouldn't be investigated, but because it all just runs into constant confusion. And, they say he has an exploding microphone. But now the footage Candace released, she says, proves he shoots from the roof and it's not him. And so not all of the theories can be right. And then meanwhile, you got TPUSA and all the weirdness there. I don't think they were involved killing him. I think what you and others have said, the only thing that makes sense is that he staged his death.
Absolutely. This is the new big shiny object that's meant to distract everybody from everything. It's just a matter of what's this distracting us from.
And you were the first person I heard 1 week into it say, hey, it looks like stage to me. I'm not saying it's stage. The only thing that makes sense, it looks like stunt, company squibs.
Yeah.
And then now that theory is really, with a lot of special operations people and others, is pretty much the dominant theory now. That only thing that fits.
It's the only one that checks all the boxes. It's the only one that checks the strange behavior from the administration, the strange behavior from the UVU police, the covering up the crime scene with concrete while there's still caution tape around the crime scene, right? It's the only one that explains Erica Kirk taking over TPUSA and doing all these strange things. Like, it's the only thing that checks the boxes where you're like, okay, that's a plausible explanation for why they're behaving the way they're behaving.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. You don't want to think that something could be that diabolical, that they're capable of coming up with a scheme this crazy, but it's very possible. They could have been planning this for years, man. TPUSA has been around forever. Candace, Charlie, Candace very well could be a part of this, whether she realizes it or not. She could be part of this plan.
Truman Show stuff, and they do big productions like this, like the moon landing and things, and they saw that boosted Trump's numbers when they tried to assassinate him.
Well, yeah.
And then we know he killed the investigation into that himself, which then you say, could have that been staged? But to get into the debate, and is it good or whatever here in a moment, and is this the Charlie Kirk murder assassination industry? It certainly is. It doesn't mean everybody covering it is part of that. But Candace a few weeks ago releases the raw footage from the rooftop that TPUSA and people said showed the HD of him getting down, his face, him pulling the trigger. Didn't show that, but it also debunks the exploding mic, if you believe that. And then Candace and all of them don't seem to understand. She thinks, well, if he's shooting with a rifle up to his eye, it's going to give him a black eye. She doesn't understand all that. No. So it just shows her knowledge. Not putting her down. It's very, very low when it comes to guns. And then he runs out there and supposedly assembles a gun in 30 seconds and then slaps a telescopic scope on that everybody knows isn't going to hit paper when you just throw it on there. Maybe a red dot, but not a normal telescopic scope. So none of it adds up. And you can see in the video, it looks like he unfolds a smaller gun, and he does have it in some type of bag or tarp, but the gate and all of it doesn't look like Robinson. When he comes out, he doesn't have the gun down his pants. I mean, I'm telling you, folks, what we do know is the official story is not true.
Absolutely.
But then it all just conflicts and gives me a headache.
Well, and so none of this makes sense, but then the algorithm seems to boost everybody that's creating chaos centered around this story. And so you have to sit there and ask yourself, why are they boosting certain content? Why are they boosting it? There's always a reason behind this. Nothing goes up. We saw what happened with you. They wanted to erase what you were saying, and they erased it. The whole world, they shut you down. They deplatformed you. They demonetized you. They took you off the air because they didn't like the message you were
sending. And then
singing.
they created a straw man of claiming I did things I didn't do.
Exactly.
The worst part of censorship is then they can reconstruct who you are, and it's a lie.
Yeah. So
here's Michael Knowles. I think he really nails it, but then I would say I disagree at one level because it's already so big, people don't have trust. That's why we're in this climate. Here it is. And again, Patrick Bet-David is hosting the debate this Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Oh, I woke up Friday morning to the news that I had been invited to moderate a debate on the murder of my friend Charlie Kirk between Andrew Wilson and Candace Owens. Andrew had suggested me as moderator, and Candace accepted, and then they started arranging the details of the debate. There was just one person they forgot to ask. From what I've gathered, the debate apparently involves big money. Hundreds of thousands of dollars raised as prize money or something. I'm actually not totally sure what the purpose of the money is. I think I'm even being offered a cut. In any case, after giving it serious consideration over the weekend, I will be declining the invitation. The whole internet seems to think this debate will be must-see content, and I'm sure it will be. I bet it'll get zillions of views. That is, in fact, why I'm declining. I'm gratified that the debaters think I have the right temperament to moderate. I try to be judicious, not get too emotional, not call people names, and so on. But in many ways, I'm probably the single worst person to moderate this debate, because for 10 or 11 months now, I have been very possibly the only person on the internet who has consistently maintained that our friend's murder should not be used for podcast content. On the debate matter itself, I've said many times, I think the evidence is pretty clear that Tyler Robinson murdered Charlie. But that fact alone would not preclude me from moderating. Everyone has opinions, doesn't mean you can't be fair. The bigger issue is that even if I didn't think Tyler Robinson murdered Charlie, I am certainly convinced that the guilt for Charlie's murder should be adjudicated with gravity and sobriety in a court of law, rather than in an Ouroboros of endless, not to mention lucrative podcasts. The only silver lining in the storm cloud of Charlie's murder was the brief unity it brought to the right. You might recall it was very brief. The right came together as leftists at every level of politics revealed their rot and cruelty by justifying and celebrating Charlie's murder, in some cases before his body was even cold. Soon after, however, a cottage industry sprung up of Charlie murder content. Candace, of course, launched her series on the subject, which I've said many times from the beginning I thought was wrong and I wish she wouldn't do it. But it got lots of views. People found it very interesting. Then all sorts of other podcasters started doing their own shows, full-length shows, weeks of shows, months of shows, about how much they hated Candace's shows about Charlie's murder. And those podcasts got lots of views too. The other group of podcasters' justification was that they wanted to debunk Candace's theories, to get people to stop watching her shows. Many of them, I suspect, had very good intentions. But I said at the time that I thought it was a bad idea, that it would be counterproductive, that we should state our opinions, of course, tell the truth as we see it, but that to obsess over every theory and speculation and provocation not only would not work, but in fact would do more harm than good to everyone and everything other than the view counts and bottom lines of the various podcasters. I predicted that this issue would only be resolved in a court of law, that opinions would only be changed by the prosecution and the defense, the sort of thing we began to see in the pretrial hearing last month, that all the rest of it was noise at best, and at worst, a very dark form of entertainment. Basically, everyone ignored my opinion, and many people harshly criticized me for suggesting it. But here we are, 11 months later, and despite innumerable podcasts on the subject, the matter has not been resolved. The rancor has gotten worse. The appetite for the Charlie murder industry is higher than ever.
That's pretty good.
So,
this
debate will...
I know you hadn't seen that yet, so give me your take, and then I'm going to break down what we do know is the facts, and then give you my take on who the villains are in this.
Well, I understand what he's saying, but the one part where he's talking about let this play out in the courts, let the judicial system solve this. Nobody has trust in the judicial system. Okay, nobody. We saw what they did to you. If they want to put somebody in prison for something, they will put somebody in prison. And we don't trust them. That's why all these conversations
I wasn't allowed to
happening.
say I was innocent.
Yeah. If we trusted the courts, then this wouldn't be happening. We'd be like, yeah, these guys, they'll figure it out. They always figure it out. They always do what's right. But they don't always do what's right, which is why the rest of us have to sit here and speculate and try to dig up and become detectives and figure this shit out on our own. So I don't agree with him on that. I do agree with him that a lot of people have made a lot of money off of this. Some of them have tripled their followings, big people, all because this is all they talk about. So I side with him on some things, but other things I don't.
Yeah, I like Michael Knowles. I think he's a classy guy, and I overall agree with him, but you just stole my thunder. That's exactly right. And I'm not whining. I just personally experienced it. They had the guy that did the Michael Jackson documentary that people proven was a fraud. I'm not defending Jackson in total, but a lot of it was made up. Come in with HBO and produce both trials, civil trials, where I was already found guilty by the judges. They had a whole list of things I couldn't say and do, and I was already, civilly liable, guilty, and couldn't defend myself, and it was ordered to be there. I'd be put in jail with contempt of court. And I didn't realize it was total Truman Show till I was in Connecticut, the second show trial, and looked over, and the same list of things I couldn't say or do that I'd seen in Texas, because you're sitting right with the judge when you're up on the stage, up at the witness box, was on the other judge. I mean, it was totally coordinated. And then it came out later the CIA was behind it, and the FBI funded it. It's been partially declassified. So even Alex Jones was naive about how hardcore this was till I got run over by it. So exactly, now I see him saying, oh, we saw the pretrial stuff. Well, they wouldn't let us see the video, and they said it shows him up close in 4K, super HD. You can see an ant's antennas, him pulling the trigger, and then it's a little blurry guy out here. Yeah. And we see all these influencers, with the same script. And then again, you have Kash Patel. I broke this a week after it happened from my sources, and it was later confirmed that they were in a cabinet meeting and told Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Kent, you're not looking at foreign involvement. And you're not looking at the trannies that said he'll be dead tomorrow when he comes here. Or the George Zinn guy getting up and saying, I did it right when it happened. So, quote, the shooter can get away. It goes on and on. So all of that is legitimate to ask questions. Then I would simply take it, and I try not to get into the murder industry. I covered it maybe 10% of the time for a few weeks here and there. I was covering all the other issues, but I would say, yeah, this doesn't add up. Yeah, the confession reads like ChatGPT. Yeah, you can't put one of these rivals together in, even 2 minutes and put a scope on it and have it be accurate. And then I would go, but this Mitch Snow guy over here says his wife locked him in a garage, beat him with a hammer, beat the car, and did this. He was convicted of that, and they had released the video of him doing what he said she did. Right. So I said, this guy's not a credible witness on your Fort Huachuca. I'm the devil. I'm CIA. I'm FBI. I'm covering up. And I was just covering balls and strikes going, I don't know what happened here, really objectively trying to come in. And when I saw that, and when even a bunch of my listeners got mad, I didn't pull back from it because some of my listeners got mad. I pulled back because I realized it was a black hole and that it would only make it worse. But then I then realized, Sean, it doesn't matter because this is such a political trial and what's been involved. We're never going to learn the truth. And that's emblematic, as you said, the courts of the wider system and the deep state and the Jeffrey Epstein cover-up and the COVID origins cover-up and the COVID shots killing everybody. In the court of public opinion, the system is convicted, but it still controls the system, so this continues to roll forward. But I just will say that in all the theories that we're sure of, that we're not supposed to question Candace on, when those get debunked, those of us that did debunk them nicely, because we're trying to find the truth here, needed apologies that we weren't CIA or Mossad agents and that we are literally trying to get at the truth. Yep. And, of course, it's come out in the WikiLeaks, and it's come out in the Epstein files, and it's come out in the Mossad funding operations that I'm attacked by Mossad and the Israelis. I'm attacked by Epstein. I'm attacked by the FBI. I'm attacked by the CIA. I'm in Crossfire Hurricane. I'm in Arctic Frost. I'm a main target. I am not with the Israelis. I am not with the globalists. I've been on the air 30 plus years, and it's not about me. I'm saying, who else has been out there this long? Ron Paul? My point is, my bona fides are 100%, and my track record is, and the fact is that then when I simply try to be a real moderator and go, let's look at TPUSA, let's look at Candace, who kind of set herself up as the arbiter of this, which is fine, then I'm not the devil for asking questions on both sides.
There's certain facts in this investigation that are glaring. And the biggest one to me is the first officer that arrived on the rooftop, and his camera turns off. The battery dies, according to him. But we don't have any proof of that. Those cameras, they store logs. They have metadata that you can request from the admins from the police department or from the actual company. I think that company is.
And you're a security
Axon.
expert. We should add, you're a security expert.
Right. But the defense never asked for those logs. That's what confuses me. That's a very huge a fact in this investigation, because that is the first video footage that we have of the rooftop where the killer took the shot, right? Camera conveniently turns off. Okay, we need
Sounds like the Epstein assassination.
We need to verify that his camera actually died from a battery. How do you verify that? The camera stores logs. It's called metadata. The company is called Axon. Everybody out there should be requesting this. If Tyler's
and it will tell you if it was battery failure.
Exactly.
It will tell you where the battery was.
It'll tell you if the battery died. It'll tell you if it was manually turned off, and they haven't requested that. That's why I'm like, what's really going on here?
And what about all the other cops that went on the roof? We don't even talk about that.
Yeah.
And then they found an unspent 5.56 round casing, whole deal right where it happened.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, a cop did it on accident, just left it there.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Rounds just fall out of your magazine.
And again, you never state your bona fides. I mean, you're a Navy SEAL, you own a security company, you do security for some of the most high-profile people. You don't talk about it on air, but I mean, you know what you're talking about.
Right. Well, and the new video of him jumping across that little ledge, and then he's kind of like breakdancing on the rooftop to get to the edge, and then he takes the perfect shot. I mean, you want to talk about the perfect shot. Like, this kid, he knew, he had to know he was either going to go to jail for the rest of his life or he was going to get killed immediately after taking the shot. If you know those are your two alternatives, those are your only two alternatives, you're not going to get away. You might get away for a little bit, but they're going to catch you eventually.
Absolutely.
If you know that that's going to happen, you're going to take more than one shot.
Absolutely.
And you're actually going to take the shot, and then you're going to try to get that scope back, because the scope's going to be moving all around the place from taking a shot. You're going to get it back on him to see if you got him, right? So as soon as he took that shot, if it was the perfect shot, Charlie falls over. By the time he gets his scope back on Charlie, Charlie's laying on the ground. He doesn't even know if Charlie's dead. He doesn't even know if the shot hit. That's the thing about taking long shots with rifles. You don't really know if you got the shot unless you can verify it. You got to identify.
And for folks that don't know, it's not like a video game where you've got your scope and you pull the trigger and there's nothing happening. Even if you're really trained with a high-powered rifle, it moves around and it takes a second or two to get back on.
Yeah, recoil.
And I want to just be clear about something in general. Those are great points, Sean. People ask why I came after Candace and why I was trying to undermine her. I wasn't. I genuinely was looking at each piece of what she was saying that looks legitimate. I checked into that. That's legitimate. I was like really trying to do an investigation. I was being serious about this. My listeners wanted me to know. And then when I went, this Mitch Snow guy's a con artist. I've studied history, know a lot of people in Black Ops. You're not going to have 12 colonels planning a murder the day before. Things are so compartmentalized that the military did do something like that, which in some cases there are groups and things that do that. I'll just leave it at that. And that's not how they work. And I'm just simply saying, hey, this isn't accurate. This will be discrediting. And oh, her surrogates, you're a Mossad agent. But then here's another example. I have looked at the crowd. Okay, and there is an incredible disproportion, and that's not the school colors, of this maroon. He's wearing maroon. So clearly something weird was going on for some type of distraction.
Was that the TPUSA shirts that they were wearing there at the campus?
No. I mean, there were some, they got so many shirts, there are a few shirts they have that are purple, and I'm not saying, but see, she says, oh, it's French Foreign Legion. Because the French are, president's suing her.
They wear maroon shirts?
Yeah, but my point is that there are anomalies and weird things to look at, but then it doesn't immediately mean it's this thing over here. But I want to hear Candace, and I'm sure she has, but get into George Zinn, this known political operative, 1 second after it goes off saying, I shot him. A bunch of leftists, when the gun goes off, turn around and start cheering instantly.
Yeah.
They all knew he was going to die. There was at least 10 posters saying he'll be dead tomorrow.
Yeah.
But Kash Patel doesn't want that looked at. Kash Patel doesn't want foreign involvement looked at. But it seems like in the conspiracy industry, anything real, no one wants to look at because it's not enough of a weird whodunit. I've always learned, I didn't learn this myself, that I would put out a video from government documents, Operation Lockstep, 10 years before they released COVID. And I had the Rockefeller Foundation thing, how we're going to have 6 feet apart, make you wear masks, create fear. Then we're going to give everybody this mask shot. We're going to bring in world government using this, calling it Disease X, probably a respiratory virus from China. This is 12 years before they released COVID, or 11 years. I would do these long shows on that, warning of what exactly was going to happen, Sean. Once COVID came, people were smart on the internet. They would only go get me nebulously saying it, cutting out why I had the facts, and say, this guy's Nostradamus. I would go find the original 30-minute video showing all the proof, 300,000 views. But if I reposted just me Nostradamusing, 10 million. So people didn't like it when I would go, here's the actual FEMA camp plan to put you in FEMA camps to take your guns. Okay. But if I just talked about FEMA camps taking your guns, 10 million views.
Right.
So it's weird how the human brain works is that it wants a puzzle that isn't solved. So I guess you don't go buy, a puzzle that's already solved or whatever. It's like an Easter egg hunt or something.
Right.
And so it's the same thing. I'm like, Kash Patel ordered to cover up a foreign involvement. Smoking gun, let's go after them. Let's expose. But nope, let's not go there. Here's a known convicted con man on video beating people with a hammer. The exact thing and this is your star witness that says his wife beat him with a hammer.
Right. So
all I'm saying is like, I was simply going through each piece trying to be helpful. Mm-hmm. And I went, oh, this isn't really about that. Not even by her, but by all the surrogates. They didn't care. It was just new popcorn. It was meant to be a black hole and meant to be a serialized thing. And I realized a lot of former fiction writers were getting in on it, realizing this is the new TV show. Well, I didn't want to make this a TV show about Charlie Kirk. I wanted my country back.
Yeah.
So I realized that I was trying to wake people up to the globalist all these years so we could get the information, but nobody really wants the facts, or a lot of people don't want the facts. They want now just to seize on the mistrust in the system, which is healthy, but then just turn it into a hall of mirrors.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm ranting.
No, you're good. One thing about this that I'm starting to realize is how loved Charlie actually was. Because all of these people that are out there fighting for the truth, whether they're doing it for selfish motives or they're doing it for good, like for good motives, it really shows like how much that guy was really appreciated and loved by our country and around the world.
Charlie was a very classy guy.
Yeah, and so this is a testitude to show like, wow, like if something happened to you, wouldn't you want your fellow citizens of this country to go on a crusade,
100%,
trying to fucking dig to the bottom of this?
Listen, if they ever say I committed suicide, it's a lie. If they ever said I die in a hotel room injecting heroin, it's a lie. Don't do that. I mean, if they ever claim I did a murder-suicide, one of their favorite things is to come kill you, kill your family, so you killed your family.
Alex doesn't do drugs. I had to convince him to have a cup of coffee this morning. So
I'm trying to be healthy and only have 2 cups a day. I already had 2, so. But it's so delicious. I have a little extra.
I know.
I'm trying to keep to 2 cups a day. But yeah, and you got me on the intermittent fasting. That's how I lost 65 pounds. So good job.
Looking good, dude.
Well, and I quit drinking entirely. I drink a little bit back again. I'm trying to totally stop. But yeah, the point is that you're never going to commit suicide either.
No, never. What do you think after all this latest stuff that's developed? 5,000 foot view. What do you think really happened to Charlie?
Well, when I war game it and just say I have to look at it being staged, just because it's the only thing that all the pieces fit together. And they go, you nut, you're crazy. No, he died, both sides. The one that thinks that it's a cover-up and the people that think it's all like they say it is. And I'm like, you understand wargaming? I don't know, okay? I'm not like everybody else that is just going to say they absolutely know. I mean, look, Candace, whenever she brought out, Charlie was worried about Israel killing him. Charlie was getting pissed at the Israel lobby and the donors coming after him. Well, I knew that was true. Because Charlie had told me about it in phone calls before he died, and I'd already seen him talk about it. So when I saw her, and I knew if she said she had the text messages, she did, they looked really bad when they then came out with that. So she did a lot of great stuff, and I think she thinks she's doing good. Again, I just want to point out that when I go investigate something and it's not accurate, it's okay she's asking questions. I'm not bad for debunking a piece of it that's not true. That's how we debunk the stuff that isn't true and put the stuff together that is true and get a picture of what it is.
Yeah, it's not playing favorites, okay? Just because you like somebody or you don't like them doesn't dictate whether or not you're going to agree with them or disagree with them.
And it doesn't mean I'm God. It doesn't mean because I believe Mitch Snow doesn't have credibility with all his convictions for con artistry and fraud and the video of him doing what he says his wife did and 12 colonels in a thing and he gets into a skiff and they're all planning it and they've got the photos of her at the Candlewood Estate, hotel and of course, I mean, just give me a break, folks. People will put out disinfo to then discredit the real information. And, they did that to Jim Garrison, the DA that was exposing the Kennedy assassination, and he had witnesses that were there, and they get up on the stand. All of a sudden, the man goes, yes, I saw the CIA guy pull the trigger, and there's space aliens in my basement. And, of course, it was a setup.
Yeah.
So these are the tactics they use. Like, I know now with the thing that happened in Connecticut with the shooting, only because I was able to see the unredacted, sealed police reports of why they had these professors and people put out the disinfo that nobody died. And it was by a fluke, how God works, that I was able to see the secret police reports.
What did you see?
I've talked about this, but notice they never attacked me for this. So I'm being deposed like 4 years ago.
They don't want it to become a headline.
I'm being deposed in Connecticut 4 years ago, 5 years ago, by the former federal prosecutor, big Democrat political operative. I don't know at the time that the DOJ is funding it, the CIA is involved. It's all come out. This guy's a former federal prosecutor, especially putting Republicans in jail. So it's like day 2 of it, and he's having me read police reports. Going, oh, you say it didn't happen. Here's this. And I said, I didn't. All I said was the internet questioned it, and I had a few guests on. I barely, just like I'm covering people questioning Charlie,
Yeah.
It'd be like turning around saying, Jones says he saw Erica Kirk kill Charlie, and I never said that.
Yeah.
I covered somebody else saying it. And so I'm sitting there just an hour reading these police reports, and he's sitting there, and Senator Blumenthal's son is also in the room. And I'm sitting there, and they got a camera on me, and later they got this all sealed. They sealed the depositions, too, because of this. And I'm reading it, and the first police officer goes in, because he had me reading earlier police reports. First, I was reading older ones.
Right.
And he goes in, and the bathroom door won't open. And he forces it open, and there's a pyramid of dead children with no blood. And it says, we think they brought the bodies here. And then you had survivors saying there were a man running down outside through the windows that lined it, shooting in. And then it's also in the reports about the bullet holes in the windows coming in and the rest of it.
Right.
And then just horrible stuff, you know. I mean, and I'm like, they were trying to make me break down and cry or something. And I guess they thought, but then the thing was, I'm reading this and I'm going, because I'd already had experts say you got set up by the CIA because they really did kill kids there, but there were other people involved. And those professors and people are like deep cover leftists. I'm not saying this. This is what I was told. And you got set up because I had this former CIA psychological warfare head on early on saying, no, Alex, it's staged. Obama staged, it didn't happen. And I got another call by a high-level CIA contact I had saying that's a setup. This is like long before they demonized me for Sandy Hook, long before it became a big issue. They said, you're being set up by the CIA. Real kids died. You need to get off this right now.
Whoa.
Yeah. And this is like, because I wasn't the Sandy Hook guy. People have done Google searches from Sandy Hook up until they start demonizing me for it when Trump gets elected.
Nothing.
No, maybe we can find that and play it. There's no search of me ever with that name. Yeah. I had like 3 or 4 guests on and barely ever covered it. And a couple news articles. I become the Sandy Hook guy, but I don't mean to digress. It's just this.
Why do you think they targeted you for that? Why did they pick you to be the Sandy Hook guy?
Okay, so WikiLeaks comes out. Roger Stone was starting to work at InfoWars. And Paul Watson and my crew was just really good at searching WikiLeaks and getting the biggest stories out. And Drudge linked to us. So all that stuff about John Podesta having kids delivered to him in hot tubs in the middle of the woods and all the real stuff that's in there, all the real Pizzagate. Hillary blamed me a month before the election and thought I was working with Trump and another branch of the government. And they thought that once they sued me, they were going to get all this discovery about Trump's kind of own Operation Crossfire Hurricane against them. And so when they were suing me, they were always trying to find out who funds you, told you to do this, what agency do you work for, what's going on. And really, it was just we were the best at running into WikiLeaks and getting it. And then remember, they said that Roger Stone lied about working with WikiLeaks and me. And then they indicted him for perjury to Congress. Remember all that?
Yeah.
And he never talked to them. I remember saying, right when I was getting him on the show and he was becoming a pundit for us, I said, can you get with John? And he goes, no, I've never talked to him, but I know this guy named Randy Credico that's talking to him. And then WikiLeaks was saying, oh, it's going to really hurt the Democrats. So he was putting 2 and 2 together and saying he didn't have these contacts. But they didn't believe it. And so they thought me and Roger Stone, with some element of the CIA working with Trump, they thought we ran this dirty trick against them. And so Hillary, a week before the election, runs like $27 million, I forget the number, you pull it up, of TV ads, like 30-second ads saying, he's Trump's brain, and he's a dark-hearted, evil person. She gave speeches. He's Alex Jones, and he said no kids died, and this is who Donald Trump is. So Trump still wins. So suddenly there's thousands of articles a week, hundreds of TV shows. I mean, sometimes I'd be in a bar and all 3 channels would be me. Yeah. I mean, this was it's like they were invading a country or something, the level of propaganda, like you do before you invade a country. And I'm just like, what the hell is this? And it was a way to demonize Trump. First you demonize me, then you demonize Trump by extension because he wouldn't repudiate me. And, I peed on graves. I did this. I'm this demon. And then the Democrat gun control group, Bloomberg and others, raised hundreds of millions of dollars off of my name, not for gun control, but to stop the monster attacking the families.
Who are they raising that money from?
They ran ads on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And it wasn't gun control ads. It was just, this man's attacking us, raise money to help us to stop. And I'm like, whoa, I think Sandy Hook happened. I said years ago, I think it happened. I'm not the Sandy Hook guy. They didn't care.
It's too late at that point.
And so then they sue me. Then they want to know who runs me and who my bosses are. They find out there's nothing there. Then the judges find me civilly liable or guilty to then have the show trials.
Right.
So I'm guilty. It's just the jury's going to decide how guilty. So, and then later the undercover CIA, FBI gets caught. It all gets confirmed. Then we go check the Federal Register. It was hidden in plain view. Tens of millions of dollars from the DOJ to the foundations and to the charities, to the law firms.
Yeah.
This is all, we put the videos out showing it, them admitting it. And then we go, oh, that's why at the second show trial in Connecticut, the head of the FBI in Connecticut, their lead counsel, their head lawyer, gets up in the testimony with their lawyers and says, I approached Koskoff and Koskoff to sue Alex Jones and for what he was doing to the families. And because they knew it was going to come out later, the FBI created it. They were hiding it in plain view. We didn't even know this till he gets up and says all this.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, the FBI did this? The FBI created this? Well, they already knew that we had the CIA guy information, and they were worried it was going to come out. So, and then they had a criminal investigation last year, the government anti-weaponization group with Ed Martin. That got killed by Todd Blanche, who was Deputy Attorney General, now a head Attorney General. And so he shut down the criminal investigation because it was criminal what they did.
Yeah.
There's a former federal prosecutor with the DOJ, with the CIA, with the media, with HBO, producing the whole thing. So then you bet I don't trust this trial on Tyler Robinson.
Exactly.
And notice they didn't have a grand jury indict him. They did a weird maneuver only Utah can do and had the prosecutors indict him.
Ah, interesting.
Now it gets worse. You've got Elizabeth Lane, this reporter, and she's up there. She lives in Utah already. She didn't just go there for this. She's in there talking to the families. She's in there with other reporters that have recorded this. And I've played some recordings on our public, and I played one on there. She talked to all 10 of the main family that goes, the dad, the mom, the grand, all that. And they are like, none of this is true. 98% of it isn't true. We don't think he's guilty. We're just fearing for our lives.
Wow.
And so, wow. Now, you'd think that'd be what Candace is covering, and maybe I missed it, but like all the real meat and potato stuff, but see, people don't like that.
Yeah.
They like Egyptian planes, purple shirts, Fort Huachuca,
Yeah.
And I'm not putting them down for that. I'm just simply saying I've been through this, and I'm not trying to even write myself into the story. I've been through this, so I know.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the problem. The system, as you first said, you stole the thunder, dead on, you just cut right to the chase. The system's so discredited, it's not just this case. It's now, unless you see something with your own eyeballs, unless you're there, you don't know what's real anymore.
Yeah. Did you watch the Andrew Wilson podcast on Joe Rogan?
Parts of it.
What do you think about that guy, Andrew Wilson?
Well, I debated him last Saturday.
What do you think of him?
It's just an interesting factoid.
Do you think he's being genuine? Or do you think there's a motive behind it?
I didn't know you were going to ask me that question, and it's not that I'm dodging it. When you've seen somebody, he's debated my son a few times. I've watched that. I've seen a few of his debates or parts of it. I saw some clips on Joe. And then I was just processing a 5-hour debate that I think they'll cut down to like 4 hours.
Yeah, that's fine.
We had piss breaks and things. So I wasn't dodging your question.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about him. I know that.
Does he strike you as an honest person?
I think he used, I mean, I'll be honest. I think you could call him a good debater, but he used ad hominem attacks and he used kind of appeal to emotion attacks in my debate with him and just authoritative body language. And I knew the stuff I was saying was true. And so the other side basically admitted they lost by the middle. And we're just, we shouldn't throw Trump out and we should not support him just because the Iran war is wrong. So it was Joe Kent and I and a couple others debating them up in Dallas. And it's going to air in like a week or so. And Brandon Strzok put it on. You ought to interview him. He's still in town. He might stay over at it if you want to talk to him.
Heck yeah.
And maybe he can come over tonight or something. Because I'm interviewing for his podcast. Say he's a great guy. He puts on great debates. You ought to be part of them. And definitely the military debates, you'd be really good at that because you know a lot.
Let's do it.
But I don't like to say, when the clips I saw of him on Joe was like, imagine the pain of Erica, and you've lost your husband, and now people are saying there's a cover-up. And imagine that pain, Joe. And that's when Joe goes, all right, come on, let's look at the anomalies. Leather pants, fireworks going off.
Right.
All the rest of this stuff. So even Joe was like, I think he's a good debater when he's actually trying to do a good debate. He kind of shifted between being a good debater and then using really cheap tricks. It was like two people.
Yeah, it was like delay tactics too. He would just talk about these easy things for a very long time, just like killing minutes throughout the podcast.
Yeah, I found him. Yeah, exactly. I think he has weird tactics that he thinks are really sophisticated, and really, I'm not impressed.
What did you think when Michael Knowles was talking about the money?
I had to process that first. I hadn't really assessed
No, it's fine. What did you?
I was still in assessment mode on him.
Because he did Michael Knowles brought up a good point where he was talking about what's the point of having money for this debate? Why throw a $300,000 number out there for a debate? Is that just to get attention? because that's all it shows is like, okay, we're gonna throw a big number out there so we can pull ratings in. Like, what do you think about that? That is a different thing as opposed to saying, hey, we disagree. Let's get on a podcast and do a debate with the moderator. Like, I'll meet you behind the buses at 3 p.m. kind of thing, as opposed to, oh, I'm $300,000 bet that I beat you, and I'm gonna raise that to another thing. Like, that's kind of fucking gross.
It's definitely well, exactly. It costs money to run debates. It costs money to have studios. It costs money. If you have your regular sponsors and the people that are coming for the debate get their expenses paid for, that's great. But because we're talking about a dead guy, I agree with Michael Knowles. You need to donate the money to the
Erica Kirk,
or well, she's got plenty.
Just kidding.
Victims of terrorism fund or something.
Yeah,
or
true.
victims of Antifa, whatever. Or victims of transgenderism. I mean, even if you don't think that's who's behind it. The point is that it is extremely unseemly. I'm not trying to deem it. Some of these are my friends. I love Patrick Ben David and all them. But they're just being honest, I think, and recognizing this is like UFC, Conor McGregor versus whoever.
Right.
This is like the weigh-ins. This is like Muhammad Ali and George Foreman talking smack to build up a ticket. And so they're basically saying this is a giant form of sick entertainment.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think it's all about the hype. It's all about the money. And if I would have been offered to host the debate, hypothetically, I would have said, we'll pay people's expenses and things, but then we need to agree on where this will be donated to charity or a basket of charities if we're going to make this into some big money-making deal. And I'm not trying to judge people. You asked the question, and I mean, it quite frankly is a disgusting spectacle.
Right.
I mean, just in that aspect, but I understand the mindset. These people are just saying, hey, whole world's a stage, each of us players upon it. But I know that, I don't know, it's pretty wild. I mean, this is officially Barnum Bailey circus at this point.
Last question on the topic, and then we're going to get to the end of the world scenarios. What are they distracting us from right now? This feels like a big shiny object, big distraction, keeping all the sheep looking one direction. What do you think that they're distracting from?
Yeah, and let's be clear. My detractors will take a clip and say, Jones says it's a distraction. Don't look into it. That's not what you're saying
I
either.
said it's a distraction.
No, but I wasn't. But at one level, you still cover it. It's important at some level.
What, the whole Charlie case?
Yeah.
Sure, it's important. I mean, we want the truth.
But as a larger point, that there's such a loss of trust in the system. That's why this has happened.
Yeah, there's so much bigger things that are happening right now.
I totally agree with you.
And everybody's always in reactionary mode, like reacting to what just happened and not thinking about what's coming.
And that's
why we always get caught every single time.
And the latest wrinkle in this person's debunked, they're debunked. No, they're not. This is AI. No, it isn't.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying they're obviously distracting everybody. They're pumping this in the algorithm. They're boosting all of this to the headlines, so we're all focused on this and fighting about it. What are they distracting us from? What's coming down the line?
That is the most important thing I think said in the last hour. You cannot deny that if you cover the Strait of Hormuz being closed and inflation up, you get blocked, you get shadow banned. If you cover the fact of cancer viruses and the vaccines and the fact that they knew the COVID shot would cause all sorts of problems, you get blocked. If you go in there and either attack Candace Owens or she attacks TPUSA, the algorithm, YouTube, Google, all of it, Facebook, are boosting it, are driving it, are pushing it. But content explaining how the rabbit trick works, explaining how the magic trick works, explaining it's not magic, that gets demonetized. That's what you have to know. When something's getting pushed and force-fed to you, and people in the media industry who aren't doing it to save the world, but are literally doing it to game the system. And I don't blame them. They've chosen that path. They will then mimic the people that came before them that are serious, and then they will use very, sleazy tactics to follow the algorithm exactly to maximum boost on that horse, and they'll ride it until it dies. And so, yes, what is a distraction from? Well, let's talk about the other bigger distractions. I don't care about Trump's ballroom. Okay, you can argue whether it's good or bad. A $90 million ballroom compared to World War III, trillions in inflation, Russia about to hit NATO, Trump killing, a lot of the deportations. All these huge things are giant. Why are we talking about a ballroom or the reflecting pool? So those are even less important distractions. And what are they distracting us from? The fact that inflation just continues to rise and that the world is on the edge of financial collapse and that the recovery's basically died. It is a distraction from the Jeffrey Epstein cover-up that we're supposed to forget about, just like the war is a distraction from that. It is a distraction from the fact that we are in a cultural fourth turning, and that AI data centers are going in everywhere and have been given above the law immunity and can dump toxic waste wherever they want and do whatever the hell they want. And that there's a plan to roll out robots and replace us, and just so many other thousands of things. It is a distraction, because I'm telling you, the Charlie Kirk conspiracy murder industry, I would say, takes about 40% of the oxygen total of all the topics being covered.
Yeah.
Because people have learned about it, they're into it, they know a lot of different pieces. So for them, it's like a reality show.
Yeah.
And so that's captured the public's attention. And so I cover it once or twice a week. I mean, I'm on the air 7 days a week, 3-4 hours a day. And I probably cover an hour a week just to try to get people to not take my view on it, because I haven't figured it out. That's why it's perfect for distraction, to get people to at least step outside of it and look at the big picture.
Do you think this Charlie Kirk story will ever die?
No, because you've got people on all different sides that have their own opinions. And you know, they show these photos, video stills of Tyler Robinson that suddenly looks like, you know, he's gained 40 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
And then people say, oh, that's AI. And then people say, no, it's not. And then people put out AI versions of it and flood the zone so you can't tell whether it's AI or not. And then I've got to forensically go spend 3 hours with AI experts. And then they go, now we can't conclusively tell because there's so many videos out there and stills and versions and so many AI mixed in, we don't know. And so many AIs of him skinny that the zone is so flooded with fog of war that it just becomes a tar baby.
Flooded with disinformation too, and weeding through all that. And the problem is, as again, you create content, influencers out there, they find themselves stuck in this. Even if they don't want to cover it, they have to stay up on it because it's changing so rapidly. New videos are coming out,
and then people have to feel like they have to defend their last position.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, here's an example. I've had so many good lawyers on and people I respect who are, you know, pro, you know, the tranny lover did it. And I go, do you understand? You do not put together a 30-06 in even, 2 minutes and put a telescopic scope on it and dial it in and shoot anywhere on the paper. Anyone knows that. That's a fact. And now the video's out. He runs out. There's no time to put it together. Lays down for 30-something, 35 seconds and unfolds something clearly that isn't even a 30-06. So if you're saying that's the shooter, it's not true.
We never saw a gun.
Then you have Kash Patel openly covering it up, confirmed. I broke that. So I don't believe any of it at this point.
Yeah.
So what we know is it ain't true. So you can't criticize Candace for asking questions. Then you can't criticize those of us that actually do real research.
Right.
That then burrow into this.
Yeah. And then I saw a video that came out, and I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but it's Kash Patel and Dan Bongino on the roof where the shooter took the shot. Like right after it happened, they went up there on the roof with the police officers. Did you see that? There's a picture going around. So
I know they came to town.
They're up there looking at the shot or where this guy took it, and there's like a shot in front of him. Kash was wearing an FBI, and everybody thought it was AI because the flap, FBI was on the flap of the pocket, and the wind popped it up, so then it went away, and then it came back down. So last I heard, that was a verified photo, but it's interesting because both of those guys immediately were like, I want to go up to where he took the shot to see it. That's interesting, right? Because they wanted to see it for themselves. How did they miss this? How did the cops that were supposed to be securing this facility, the perimeter of this, all these buildings, they just forgot this one that happens to be right there in front?
But see how the internet goes. Oh, the flap goes up. Now it's all a debate about them on the roof. It's just it's endless. Like, let's analyze.
I know.
No, I'm not putting you down bringing up the thing.
Death by analysis.
But what I'm saying is, all we do is analyze this.
Yeah.
And now we're not analyzing the Axon cameras going up nationwide or
the biggest piece of evidence.
It's the same thing. They now know that the other big tech companies have been, I knew this, it's obvious, financing tens of thousands of articles in the corporate media against Palantir and against Flock. Not that Palantir and Flock are good. They want to distract onto them to destroy their value because you've got Google and Microsoft and all these other companies and BlackRock that have the main systems going in.
Right.
And people go, oh, you're defending Palantir. That's not what I just did. And I've been saying this for the last year and a half. Now people are figuring it out, going, oh, that's true. So see, I've learned their tricks and how they distract people. But yeah, the whole thing is about distraction.
Yeah.
And what does a wizard do? What does a magician do? He has the lovely assistant, in the negligee, and there's a table, and he puts the hat on top, and he reaches down, and a rabbit comes out. Well, no, there's a trap door in the table, and there's a rabbit in there.
Yep.
And I'm going, hey, this is how it works.
And Erica, Candace, that whole drama. It's like Candace is at the forefront of this. That's the one thing where it's like, if she's not a willing participant of this magic trick, she has to be sitting there going, man, I can't believe they keep boosting all my stuff. Everything that she's putting out there. And I get it. What she's saying is very provocative, and she's very good at delivering.
And then notice all of TPUSA's activity is destroying them.
They have to be sitting there. She has to be at some point be going, man, I just can't believe they haven't shut me down yet.
TPUSA had the world at its feet when Charlie got killed.
Yeah.
You don't put on a big thing with lights and sparklers and her dancing around in leather pants.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff a week after your husband's dead. And I'm not trying to put Erica down. I'm not saying she killed him. I'm saying that if you were the globalist behind this, you would go tell them, go do this.
Right.
And then they just destroy themselves.
Right. You set it up for them. Just show up. You're not going to even tell them what's going to come. You already see what's coming. You see 2 or 3 steps after this.
Well, all I know is that Trump covering up Epstein and then Kash Patel covering up Charlie's death made everybody, like 80% of people that did support Trump, lost faith in him.
Real quick, what are you thinking of this whole Fauci stuff that's going down with him, getting him on the stand?
Well, he's already pardoned. Of course, he lied to Congress. Of course, we have all his emails where they knew it was causing
they be able to
mass
get him?
miscarriages and death. They did it on purpose.
I know the states can go after him now, individual states, and a lot of them have filed suits on him.
Yeah, and I agree. He needs to be in prison or in a supermax or after he's convicted for mass genocide, swinging from the end of a rope. But even Fauci's become a distraction from Obama creating the COVID initiative at Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Then they shipped it once it became a scandal in 2015 to Wuhan. They released it, the shot, all of it. Fauci is a high-level manager, but at the end of the day, he's just a fall guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But notice, as the truth comes out, it's been known he's a liar. It's been known he's a eugenicist. It's been known. Now we're just now getting to Fauci. And then I think he'll probably conveniently die or something.
That's what I'm thinking, too. He's already looking rough. His wife flipped off the camera the other day.
Yeah. Well, it came out that he had a big heart problem from the shot himself. Covered it up.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't. And
so did John Roberts on Fox.
Yeah.
He takes the shot, has big heart problems, and takes 3 more, and then doesn't tell everybody for 4 or 5 years that it almost killed him.
Yeah.
Because, that'd be conspiracy to tell people. And it was even known that it was doing it, but John Roberts on Fox keeps taking the shots and then doesn't tell people that he figured out it was killing him.
All right, let's get into some fun stuff.
I mean, how cowardly is that?
Let's talk about apocalypse. Isn't it funny how like a conversation on apocalypse is a break from all this fucking stuff that pisses you off?
Well, here's the thing about apocalypse. Well, give us your take and I'll give you mine.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Well, I like to hear what you say, Sean.
Okay. Well, I always am wargaming what I would do in an apocalypse scenario where the government is breaking down, states, cities, municipalities, they are splintering into factions. What would you do? What would the world look like? It's a fun hypothetical scenario that, it kind of like tests your aptitude and everybody kind of like plays it off like, that would never happen. You're just a doomsday prepper, but it could happen. And there's thousands, if not millions of people out there that take it very seriously to different degrees. Some of them are too extreme. But there's certain items that you would want to keep in an emergency situation. And so I always go through, I play out scenarios, Red Dawn scenarios where, all right, our government has dismantled. It's every man for himself. All right. What are you doing? What's in your house? Is your family trained? What's the most important items you can have in one of these scenarios, right? Off the top of my head, top 3, comms, weapons, med kit, right? Everything else you could kind of
food, water.
Obviously food and water, but that's something that you can find, right? You're not going to find weapons out there.
I agree.
Right? You're not going to find a good med kit that has everything that you're going to need. And you're not going to find comms. Comms is, to me, the most important item that you can have, because as soon as something happens, the grid is going to shut down. You're not going to be able to have your iPhone, and you're not going to be able to reach out to anybody. You can't make phone calls.
Oh, I know. In New York, they run nuclear war TV announcements in other cities, and it goes, if there's a nuclear war, go to the FEMA or local app, or tune into your local TV station.
Yeah,
that won't be there, folks.
Oh yeah, go to FEMA camps. Yeah, go where they want you to go. Fuck that. The last thing I'm doing is going where they tell me to go.
Get on the internet.
Right.
There won't be any internet.
Yeah. No, there's going to be nothing.
In New York City?
Do you have maps?
The Russians are going to shoot at least 8 hydrogen bombs off the coast from their submarines. One of the first targets is New York.
Yeah, and everybody thinks that they're on the other side of the planet. They are close. People don't fucking understand.
They're 12 miles off the coast.
12 miles. One of our biggest enemies is 12 miles
Basically,
off
all
of
of our
coast.
cities are 3 minutes maximum from their ballistic sea launch missiles.
So let's play this clip. I think this is good. Get the wheels turning here on a end of the world scenario.
Salute to Spain.
This is going on in Spain right now.
Yeah. It was going on 2 weeks ago. 80,000 flooded in. A bunch of them stayed. Now they've attacked again. And our State Department sent them $40 million 2 months ago and told them to invade and attack. And so did Israel. And Israel's on record stating they're behind it. And then when I come out and say that, they have their influencers say I'm anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
So these are the Muslims
what is going on here?
the area there in Morocco that's been under Spain's control since they basically kicked the Moors out after they occupied Spain. That's why it's called Morocco, or the land of the Moors.
Right. How many of these Moroccans have flooded into Spain?
Okay, well, 80,000 came in a week and a half ago, and then the media lied and said that they kicked them out. Then there's hundreds of videos showing most of them stayed, raping, murdering, killing. The Spanish are having to evacuate out of the city, the protectorate, and now they're using that base there to go across the Strait of Gibraltar. This is the opening to the Mediterranean, to invade Spain's mainland in their Zodiac boats. So Spain itself is being invaded. And then the national news says no one's invading, everything's fine. But this is the type of end of the world stuff where it's not the end of the world, but it's the end of the world as you know it.
Yeah.
And just the fertilizer cut off. Half the fertilizer to Africa has been cut off because a third of the fertilizer got cut off Strait of Hormuz, and that's where Africa gets half of it. And in all the actuaries show they're going to get hit with at least 50 million attempted migrants by next year. The growing season didn't happen in Africa.
Yikes.
Half of our farmers are not even doing so because of diesel prices and the cost of fertilizer. So we're going to have, we're talking global famine, guaranteed, worse than the COVID lockdowns, all engineered in. So that's just one factor in this. So let me break down. And I realize this in the time we have. Let's just do a synopsis, and I should come back, and I can send you a lot of documents, a lot of reports. We ought to do a 2-hour deep dive on prepping.
Well, just give us a 5-minute prep. What's the first thing you're doing as soon as the sirens start going off? What's going through Alex Jones's head?
Well, the first thing, let me explain why this is a real thing, okay? First off, the elites, the ultra-rich, have, and I talked about this decades ago, but now it's official, have been getting huge yachts, which are their escape systems.
Yep,
they've been building bunkers in Tasmania and up towards the Arctic Circle in northern Canada. Building their own little towns up at the tree line. They have been building huge bunkers in Kauai. Mark Zuckerberg, they have been building huge bunkers in New Zealand. They've been doing it. Peter Thiel's left the country and got down to Argentina into the mountains, building their own community up the other side of a mountain. So they're all doing this, saying they think there's a good chance we're going to have a nuclear war. So you just have the nuclear war, the International Atomic Scientists Association in Chicago, that is a consortium of all the think tanks, says we're the closest nuclear war we've ever been on the doomsday clock. So those are just a few data points I'm giving you. You understand? Migrant flows, economic collapse, inflation, nuclear war threat up, all these biolabs, all this AI being hooked in, now creating artificial viruses in labs. The technology level of us having an Atlantean disaster, like Atlantis, if you believe that happened, well, it's happening, the potential now is so high that the probability of these different things coming together to cause major disasters and crises, earthquakes, earth changes, the pole is shifting at a very fast rate compared to what it was, moving a few miles a year. All this is going on. Then you add a more and more decadent, dumbed-down population in the West, IQ's dropping, fertility dropping, 5G, all the sickness, the illness, the crime, the decadence, the communists, the Soros DAs, letting criminals out. All that puts pressure on the society. And so, and the taxation, the regulation, the giant debt, a new depression. The university estimates are between 7 and 11 million people starved to death during the Great Depression from 1929 to 1939. It is estimated that 87% of the population lived in rural areas. More than half of them were self-sufficient. Still, you had 7 to 11 million starved to death. Now we're about 89% urban and about 11% rural, less than 10% of the rural populations are totally self-sufficient, and they don't have stuff for other people. So if we had 7 to 11 million deaths with about 40% totally self-sufficient, now if we're like 5%, maybe max self-sufficient, we are set up with just on-time deliveries, just a week or so of food, gasoline, all this. If there's a Carrington event, like a giant solar flare that they know burned up most of the telegraph lines, in the 1880s, if something like that alone hits us, or an EMP,
magnetosphere,
it's estimated by the Pentagon that within 1 year there's 90% population's dead. Then you add to that there's 487 admitted nuclear reactors on the planet that generate power. There's a lot of research reactors as well, but within a just shutdown of society, within months all the reactors melt down. Okay, because they got to have generators and outside power and systems to run them and control them. They're not designed to stand alone.
Right.
And they should be. Those are all Chernobyl events or Fukushima events. And each one of those is the equivalent of thousands of hydrogen bombs of radiation put into the atmosphere. So we're talking end of the world, road warrior, you'll wish you're dead. The Road, Viggo Mortensen movie, meets The Road Warrior, meets Hell on Earth. And all of these things are intensifying, and the chances of a civilizational collapse are intensifying. And then you have the globalists saying they want to control collapse in the Great Reset to control the collapse and pose as the saviors as they slowly cut off resources and depopulate and put in a total police state. So all these confluences don't get out of control and cause a breakdown of society they can't control. They're doing a controlled detonation, but really behind the scenes exacerbating the collapse just because they're basically satanically possessed, if you ask me. So that's a large gestalt, but you're absolutely right. I had 127 acres, about 45 minutes east of Austin, with that was on the San Marcos River, totally crisp water, aquifer water, you can drink right out of it, that had 2 wells on it, and just a few good neighbors that have been there forever that when I looked at the property were listeners. Even the people that sold it to me gave me a better price because they were listeners. And an example of what would I do, I don't have that now because it was one of the few things I had. I didn't have all this money they claimed.
The average person doesn't have that either.
But I actually had that with an RV on it. It had an old country, house shack on it. And I was doing stuff like putting diesel tanks out there and other things. Mm-hmm. So, and solar panels. And that's all I got to. And even in a fallout situation, because we're so close to Austin and Fort Hood and nuke sites, I'd probably be here when we got nuked and never get out.
Yeah.
But I had that. And yes, I have satellite phones. I have CBs. I have Motorola's. I have, still at my house, I have some basic mobile solar panel backpacks.
Real quick on your radios, you have to get encryption keys. Okay? You can't just buy a Motorola radio that's got line of sight. That's great if you have it, but if you don't have encryption keys, they're going to listen into your conversation. You can buy encryption keys. I think one of the best ones is a AES 256. Remember that, AES 256. Get encryption keys.
You should get sponsors on all that too.
I know.
People really need.
I would love to. I think it's important.
I need to get into that too. I haven't really, but I mean, long story short, I've talked to a lot of preppers, studied it, talked to a lot of military people, talked to folks that have been in collapsed societies. You were there for years, as close as you get to Road Warrior, Afghanistan.
You see it.
So you should speak to it. And just the amount of,
even out there, we were using encryption keys, encrypted radios, right? There's a good one you could buy. It's expensive, right? It's like $1,500 a radio. Motorola R7.
Well, there's different schools of thought, and we can do this in a larger deal.
Yeah, we got to do a longer.
You could either decide to get with friends and family and neighbors you support and move to the middle of nowhere. There's whole studies on areas for fallout that are good.
Choose wisely on that, though. Choose wisely. I think you're better off
by yourself
with your family.
But that's what I meant. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I've had experts on and made films on this strategic relocation based on the book by Joel Scalzi. You should get on if he ever comes to town. He's a top prepper researcher.
I'd love to. That'd be great.
Former Marine Corps naval aviator, great guy. And he really is, because he has a book he put out that deals with the politics of areas and the military threat, the crime threat, the resources, the fallout issues, and then the maps all go over each other to give you the best zones. So there's that. But the biggest thing is you need with your family to have a rallying point. If there's an earthquake, if there's a nuclear attack, if there's whatever, and then you at least need to have a bug out plan, bare minimum to, if you've got family out in the countryside or whatever, but in so many of these scenarios, nuclear war, you're going to get, most people will be killed in the first 5 minutes once it starts, and then the rest of them in the outside the epicenter will be wishing they're dead.
Yeah,
and then within weeks, warlord stuff starts.
Yeah,
and so it's not a good situation.
Right, and with like nuclear fallout, a lot of people are like, "I'm good, I got a gas mask." Well, gas masks take filters, right? Those little canisters that you see on the side, those are filters. They only last for a couple days, and then you got to replace them. So you need like a huge stock of these filters that go with these gas masks.
Well, that's why there's going to be a nuclear war. And you're out in a rural area. That's people say, what are you going to do? Live in that bunker for years? No. The main fallout's just for the first few months. Then you live off canned foods and stuff. And then for the next few years, you just got to, wash everything.
Right.
Because it's not, most of the fallout's not going to be in what you're growing. It's been washed off. It's going to be coming back in out of the air.
Yeah.
And so you'll definitely want to wear whatever because you're going to run out of canisters. You're going to want to definitely then wear the N95 mask when you go out just to stop particulate. But yeah, I mean, no, there's a nuclear war and you're already out waiting for it. Then you go into your underground bunker and then you stay in there a few months so that you don't get the main radiation. But you've got to get out quick, or you got to have solar panels and some surface cameras because very quickly the marauders are going to come.
Sure.
And so that's why you don't want to have a big advertised base or some rich mansion that's got a bunker under it. Those are the worst places. You want to be 50 miles off a dirt road, behind a hill, down in a valley, up at a crag, and you want your little distraction shack house over here, and then you want your bunker completely
100%.
Completely concealed.
Yeah, 100%.
And you can't have snorkels. If your designers want you to have snorkels for air and stuff, you probably want to be hooked in. Best thing would be a bunker already built in a cave. That way they don't come hook up an engine to your snorkel and pump carbon monoxide in. I mean, that's the thing. Zuckerberg doesn't understand that everybody hates him in Kauai. His security people hate him. And I think he does. I explained it to his people. And that's why he's now launched on these giant yachts. And they're all out on huge yachts. And they're all completely paranoid about their security. Because the first thing when society breaks down is, in almost all cases, your security is going to take care of you.
Right.
So
it's a good move too with these mega yachts. You got to hand it to them. That's actually very smart.
And then they write it off as investing, studying these new libertarian sea communities.
Right.
Or, James Cameron's looking for underground or sunken ships. No, James Cameron's been obsessed with this and worried about this for 16, 17 years. And he basically quit making movies other than a few. And he has an admitted bunker, huge fortress in New Zealand. But then he's got right there at the dock actual former ocean liners that he writes off as his sea, the deal. And those are for him because he's been convinced this would happen forever. And the reason I knew that is I know a big producer who was investing with him to roll out like 16 years ago, movie theaters that are in a circle and then it's hologram movies.
What?
And he just said, I'm done. I'm just going to make enough money to get out of here because he'd already been read in on the plan for collapse of civilization. And so now it's admitted that he's run and does that. But I first broke that. But my point is that all these guys have these fleets of yachts. I mean, like Bill Gates and Zuckerberg and all of them have huge yachts, that 500 people can be on with 2 or 3 helicopters. And then their support ships are like marine amphibious ships. Sure. I mean, they just have fleets. Larry Page, Sergey Brin, don't ever really even come back to the U.S. anymore, except once or twice a year. They fly in on $100 million jets, and they own islands down the South Pacific, and they've got armored redoubts. And I've talked to people that are involved with them. They actually have combat robots. They don't even trust their security. They've got like locked up, ready to go, charged up. Okay, guys, you guys go now. Helicopter out. And then when they're gone, they didn't even know how to trust security. They got combat robots.
And that's my whole point. If they are prepping, you should be prepping.
No, they have underground bunkers with combat robots.
I believe you. This is the whole reason I brought this up, is a lot of people, we're so distracted by all this infighting over all this stuff. Candace, Epstein, Fauci, all these different things. Focus over here. Focus over here. Don't think about the 5,000-foot view. Be prepared. Have a plan. Give your family and yourself at least a chance to survive. And if you're not doing that, then you're probably wrong.
Absolutely.
So,
Sean,
Alex,
tell people they need to subscribe to you.
Subscribe to me. Yeah, I don't know. It's a slow grind. I don't.
You're kicking ass. And
I don't even think about it anymore. I'm just having fun.
I understand. People need to follow you there. They need to follow you on X. And folks, they censor me. You can find me at Real Alex Jones on X, on rumble.com/The Alex Jones Show Live, The Daily Show. You can also go to the new news site, AlexJonesLive.com. All the feeds are free, the audio feeds, video feeds, and we get into all of this. We break all this down. And it is just so important that the big picture information get out. So I just want to thank you, Sean, for the great job you do. And
thank you
for the fact you're getting the word out and letting me come in here and babble.
Yes, sir. And we got some fun stuff coming on down the line. We don't have a date when it's going to start yet, but we're going to start doing some live stuff. Me and Alex are going to work out, do some live stuff, go on hikes, live, take questions from the audience. And
you're going to start going live, bottom line.
We're going to make it go integrative. And in episode 100 of this, we are going to go live with Alex. And the whole podcast, we're probably going to do a 3 or 4 hour podcast. It's going to be live. We're going to be fielding questions from you guys and make it very interactive. So we want to kind of share this more than we have been.
Absolutely. My show is one of the most suppressed in history. Why don't they want you to find it? AlexJonesLive.com. Ask yourself that question. Don't take the still clips out of context where people distort what I've said. Tune in for what I actually say. I know a lot of you are doing that. I really respect you. But believe me, the bad guys don't want this information out. And they're also in the algorithm suppressing Sean because he's a real deal too. So please subscribe to this guy and support him and support his sponsors because we're doing important work here and we're all in this together. God bless you.
Thank you. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?